The gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Perry, and a member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment cuts $35 million from this bill for the Appalachian Regional Commission, lowering the funding level in this bill to $165 million. The IIJA provided the Appalachian Regional Commission with an advanced appropriation of $200 million a year. The entirety of its authorization level for FY22 through 26, meaning every dollar provided under this bill is more than the authorization level. We authorize things here and then we pay for them. So it's authorized at a lower level and we're paying much more. In other words, under this amendment, the ARC would still receive $365 million for the fiscal year rather than $400 million provided by this underlying bill. Even with this minimal cut under this amendment, the program's funding is extremely and still extremely bloated, and its effectiveness remains unclear, as do all the regional commissions. Moreover, this commission's programs are duplicative of other federal economic development programs and better addressed by state and local levels. In fact, the FY18 budget justification identified that the Appalachian Regional Commission failed to show a strong link between grants and a positive impact on the communities they serve. Worse, this year, the Commission's Inspector General identified the massive increase in the Commission's funding over recent years as a threat to its very ability to evaluate grant proposals, measure program performance, and conduct appropriate oversight. So we talked about the last one. We needed the money for oversight. This one, we got so much money that they can't oversee it. This is your federal government at work here. The spike in funding threatens to worsen an already tenuous link between funding and success. Simply must bring the funding level for the ARC, the Appalachian Regional Commission, down to ensure that it has the capacity to ensure it meets its mission. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I reserve the balance.
Gentleman reserved. What purpose does the gentleman from Tennessee seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I rise to oppose the amendment.
Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I thank again my distinguished friend from Pennsylvania for filing the amendment. My great state of Tennessee, which I represent, 3rd District of Tennessee, and our state and other states greatly benefit from the Appalachian Regional Commission. This amendment would eliminate the Appalachian Regional Commission, which provides funding for hundreds of cost-shared projects, partnering with private industry to bring needed jobs to this depressed region. The Energy and Water Bill maintains funding for the ARC at the fiscal year 2023 level of $200 million. These communities, and many of which I represent, cannot afford to lose millions of dollars in private investment this commission leverages. I respectfully urge a no vote on this amendment.
Does the gentleman yield back?
I yield, Mr. Oh, I'm sorry, I reserve.
You reserve.
Mr. Chair.
Gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
I reserve.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Tennessee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I yield to my ranking member, Ms. Capter.
For what purpose? Gentleman is recognized. Sorry.
I rise in strong opposition to this amendment and in support of the Appalachian Regional Commission. Let me just say that the Commission itself is a partnership between the federal government, 13 state governments, focusing on 423 counties across the Appalachian region. Residents in parts of Pennsylvania, evidently the gentleman's area is not covered, are served by this commission. And since 1965, the Appalachian region has been struggling. And they've made progress. They've made progress. Significant progress. The number of high-poverty counties in Appalachia has been cut by 60% since 1960. It's a long road. And the regional poverty rate has been cut by more than half. God bless them. However, the region still lags behind the nation and continues to encounter challenges such as the severe substance abuse crisis, as well as a downturn in the coal economy. So this is a part of America that we have to lift up. I've been very impressed with the work that they're doing in terms of restoration of the natural environment and expanded tourism. They're working together collaboratively, and I strongly urge my colleagues to vote against this amendment. Let's help the American people who need it. Thank you, and I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. The gentleman from Tennessee is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just so happens that I had a hearing about a week ago on the Appalachian Regional Commission and all the other commissions. Interesting that this has been around since the 60s. There was a map of the Appalachian region, of which the home that I reside in looks on the South Mountain of the Appalachian Mountain Range. So I live right in the center of this thing. What was interesting to me of the map that I looked at, provided by the Commission since the 60s, showed counties that had reached attainment. Counties that had reached attainment. Well, none of them had reached attainment. It's been around since the 60s. All the ones that hadn't reached attainment in the 60s still haven't reached attainment in 2023. We're spending all this money. We're not getting anything for it. You know, we're getting some things for it. You might be able to get a theater in your community reconstructed with the help of the federal government, or a trail, which is awesome. These are great programs. I'm not here to argue that they're not. What I'm arguing is two things. It's not the job of the federal government, number one. These are things done by local communities and states. And number two, this is above the authorization. This commission was authorized funding. We don't dispute that. I don't dispute that. But we're spending money above the authorization, and I do dispute that, because we're $30-some trillion in debt with nothing in sight except more debt. And people say, well, we can't cut anything. There's nowhere to cut. Well, we authorized this. This body authorized this at a lower level. And then we appropriated at a higher level. Well, when you don't have any more money, when you're borrowing money to pay your bills, it seems to me that it'd be easy to say, well, we'll just pull back a little here, just a little, and we'll go to what's authorized, which is still a lot, hundreds of millions of dollars. But I guess that's going to be a problem here. This has no federal nexus whatsoever. I will tell you, there are nice people working here. They want to do great things for their community, but this is a boondoggle. This is spending money where other money can be spent and is being spent, and this is duplication of services. And sooner or later, this town is going to have to realize the taxpayer doesn't have any more money to be bled out of their pockets to spend on things that are spent elsewhere for the same projects, local, state, et cetera. I urge adoption, and I yield the balance.
Gentleman yields the balance. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Pennsylvania. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The noes have it in the opinion of the chair.
Chairman, I request the yeas and nays.
For what purpose? Does the gentleman request a recorded vote?
I do, sir.
Pursuant to Clause 6 of Rule 18, further proceedings on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Pennsylvania will be postponed. It is now in order to consider amendment number 26, printed in Part B of House Report 118-214. For what purpose does the gentleman from Pennsylvania seek recognition?